realistically, only you have control over what your non-negotiables and working on yourself and keeping your own mental health and your own physical health in check. Like no one else
Yeah.
is going to come in and be like, "Hey, you should take a break right now."
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no. Let's start this thing, fool. Hello, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome back to S2E40 podcast where we aim to build a better mindset for better relationships.
Yeah, and this one on relationship, it's more like relationship on talking through our weaknesses. We did this a year ago. We were supposed to check in 3 to 6 months after.
We failed.
I guess we never got to it, but it's a good way to self-reflect, go back onto the top 3 weaknesses that we'd like to work on and see how we're going.
Yes, exactly right. So
how you going? How you going?
yes, it's been a journey.
Yeah, so what were the 3 that you had?
So the first one that I had was building my network. My second one was essentially being more empathetic. And I think that was just in general. And my third one, which was being more proactive in life.
Let's cut that one short and say that you have not worked on
Well,
that.
Well, I think I can argue it's 50-50 with that one.
Yeah, but anyway, so we'll go with, because you said it was forcing yourself to.
Wait. Before we get into it, you need to tell the viewer, the listeners.
They don't need to know about mine.
Yeah.
They just want to know about yours.
Mate.
My 3 weaknesses was to get better at public speaking. It was one of the goals I wanted to work on and something that I really wanted to gain experience in, and we'll go into where that's at. Second one was speaking my mind confidently but still respectfully, and yeah, this one's going quite well, I would say. And lastly, being better at multitasking and not trying to do too many jobs at once, and just being more intentional with the things I want to do.
All right, let's fucking jam into it.
Yeah, you first. So how's the networking going?
Yeah, networking's been a interesting journey for me. I think when we first spoke about these weaknesses back in, was it August 22? November 22. That's when I essentially just started my new job. So yeah, like I said, it's been a massive battle to figure out, essentially what the change is. It's a new space that I essentially haven't been in before, and it's just really trying to understand it from a holistic point of view. So networking has been a challenge to some perspective because my focus predominantly has been trying to understand the core foundations of the business. So in terms of networking internally, I would say it's 50-50. I have been somewhat successful to some degree.
But networking internally, as in just talking to peers, like co-workers.
Yeah. So it's more so expanding my network internally through, I guess, different channels within the business. And obviously the business I work with is huge. It's pretty much, your top financial institutions in Australia. So you can understand that it is quite a large entity. So there is heaps of different colleagues, heaps of different people, and it does branch out internationally as well. So there's so many people that you can develop a relationship with and hone in through that.
Yeah, but I think one thing I remember you saying, though, it's not about the networking as in a general form of going out and putting yourself out there and talking to people. I think it was more specifically of you saying to put yourself out there and making the conversation, because a lot of the times if you're not in that space, you're kind of like, I don't need to do it. I don't need to put myself out there. So did you think in this new role, have you done that where you have actually put yourself out there and start the conversation or, talk to people?
So that's what I meant by 50-50. So from a business perspective, I feel like I have made 50% of the move in terms of the effort to really network internally. And then there's an external perspective, which is external sources.
According to our sources.
What a terrible song.
That's a good song. It's Raining Men, the best song of all
She keeps
time.
singing this all the time, and it gets in my head, so I tell her shush.
No. Well, for those who love that song, please comment below.
No, please, please. And the third part is more of a personal perspective, which is like building relationships from a friendship perspective and just knowing your affiliates and who is surrounding of that. So I can answer from a business perspective, 50%.
But I feel like on a personal level, you kind of have worked on that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is
Yeah,
that
which
on a
is
personal level, you've reached out, you're trying to reconnect and just see where they're at. Whether or not that did bring you business or if it's capable for your business to grow within your career. Like, feel like what I'm trying to say is your initial goal was to focus on yourself, to put yourself out there more, and you have done that.
yes, and that's what I'm trying to get at, the personal side of things. So, and even some of the customers and clients that I meet definitely have learnt to build a great relationship with some of them.
And do you think you're going to continue to work on that?
Hell yeah. There's never a point where you'll get too good at it. I think there's always room for improvement and there's always room for you meeting new people.
Yeah, I agree. And then that's similar to my one, having a goal of public speaking. So I was reflecting on this and what we're doing now in terms of the podcast, that's kind of like public speaking in a way. It's just that we don't have a crowd. We're talking to a group of listeners and appreciate the ones that are tuning in every week and listening
That's
to
it,
our podcast.
man.
But I feel like I'm kind of already doing that. And in a way, I think it's not quite my primary goal anymore. I think when I'm working, how I express myself, I am definitely a lot more confident just speaking out and talking to people, sharing my knowledge. And I feel that that is quite close to public speaking and just the reason of why I wanted to have public speaking as a goal. So whether or not I personally go up on a stage or go to a panel speaking event or having that kind of experience, that would still be something that's amazing, but it's not like my top priority goal anymore.
Yeah, I feel like you're kind of like you already alluded to it, but you are essentially doing that same thing through this platform.
Yeah. Just within experience and learning from many years of working in this field, it's just helped me build the confidence. And it's always something that I still want to work on. And I think I'll naturally keep working on it. So I don't want to have, like, I'm not saying that I'm going to get rid of this goal. It'll still be something in the back of my list and on the list that things I'm going to work on. But I think like I'm getting to where I want to be in this public speaking space and just talking more confidently in front of people.
And you mentioned that you're almost getting to the point of where you want to be. What do you think is the last final hurdle you reckon you would like to try to say, yes, I've finally ticked this box?
Well, I don't think it's something about physically ticking off the box. And again, circling back to, yeah, eventually I would love to have that experience in public speaking and doing like panel speaking and just sharing my knowledge and sharing my experience. That's just something I purely enjoy doing, is sharing my experience and sharing my knowledge. And it's not to preach anything, it's just to actually have other people hear, okay, this is your journey, this is what you've done, this is your experience. And we are kind of doing that on the podcast, and it would be awesome to be able to experience that in a design or creative world.
Yeah.
And that would probably be my next thing that I'd be like, yes, I've reached a milestone, but I'm not pressing for time where I'm like, I need to have this done. Like if
Mm.
it happens and it will be an awesome thing to achieve. But if it I haven't achieved it within the next year or so, I'm not gonna be bummed about
Yeah.
it either.
There's no urgency. You're just doing it as time goes,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and if life gives me the opportunity to do that, then that's awesome.
Yeah. I was going to say when life gives you what? Lemons?
Yeah,
What's the next part of it?
I don't know. You make it
Shit.
whatever. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Make the most of what life gives you.
That's it, man. That's it.
So your other one was being more empathetic. I'm actually really curious to hear how this one's going.
Yeah, so empathetic is to me, when I initially spoke about this a year ago, it was to be applied just in general, in terms of just general conversations, whether it's personal, whether it's in a professional setting, stuff like that.
And how's
Why are
that
you why are
going?
you laughing at me, mate? Hey,
I can't see
yeah,
you
you
ever
bloody.
being like, "Good morning, guys. How's it going?"
Well, being empathetic, especially from my perspective, like it's definitely a challenge because I guess, my journey in life. I've grown up to build myself in a way where I don't give a shit, and I've had to live my life that way for me to learn and jump over roadblocks to some extent.
Yeah.
And it's not great and it's not healthy, I think. And I think you need to be empathetic to understand, empathize with people.
But I feel like that's something that you've repeated a lot of times where you keep saying that it's something that you had to build over time and it's like a life you had to live while growing up, which I think is really awesome. It does build you to where you are today. But what I'm noticing is that you always put it back on that. And that is to me is kind of like in the past, you know what I
Mm.
mean? So I feel like is there something that you're working on currently to kind of bring more empathetic being more empathetic towards others, and is there a particular reason why you want to be more empathetic?
I think, sure, to some people who perceive what I just said, it could be a problem.
I don't think
You know
it's
what I
a
mean?
problem. I'm just thinking it's
Well,
just you are
it could be
very
a
fixated on that is the past of how you grew up.
no, but it could be an excuse too. You know what I mean? People could view that as an excuse to not move on or not do this or that. The reason why I say that is because for me, you've got to have a foundation that you build yourself off. So if I were to completely flip and change my non-empathetic behavior to a empathetic personality where I care about everyone and I cater for everyone, then I'm going to bend over backside in some scenarios where I'm overcompensating for certain relationships. And
Yeah,
that's
but you
when,
don't have to fully flip. It's just
yeah, yeah,
adding
yeah.
a little bit of that
Adding a
empathy
little bit.
in.
But anyway, what I was trying to get to is I feel like my conversations in the last 12 months definitely have been more empathetic because I talk to different people every single day of my life. And these people that I talk to are customers, clients, and they all come from different backgrounds. They all have different situations and scenarios in their life. And some of them are going through some pretty hard shit. And when you have these conversations, you need to understand, well, one, what is their objectives in life and what are they wanting to achieve? Secondly, you've got to give them the cold hard truth at times whether or not you can facilitate what they're after. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow if they can't do something. And it's something that these particular customers or clients that are, been working so hard to work towards for months. And for you to say, look, you can't do this, it could be a dramatic impact to
Yeah,
some of
so
these
for
people.
context, for listeners who don't know what that is it just you're referring to borrowing money to buy a house
Yeah,
or
so for people out there who don't know, it's my business is all about acquisition, so helping people buy property, whether it's investments, whether it's to live in, whether it's their first home ever. So there are a lot of first home buyers who are trying to get their foot into the market, but with the situation and the economy right now, it's a bit rough. And sometimes you've got to really step out the conversation and be empathetic. So I think me being empathetic, I definitely think I have changed the way I talk to people when it comes to customers and clients' perspectives. I think from a friendship point of view, maybe not. Maybe, I'm still kind of the same, but I feel like my friendships know my character and they know who I am. So that doesn't really change.
So, what do you think you have learnt the most in terms of how to be empathetic to people in terms of work sense, like your clients?
Yeah, very, very easy. It's just listening. It's just listening to them, let them talk, and ask the questions. Be curious and just pick their brain. Let them answer and let them tell.
But in saying all this though, I don't know. I just from a personal perspective, I don't really feel like that's your weakness. I can see your straightforwardness and how you are as a person, but I wouldn't say that you don't have empathy. I think you have empathy in your own way in terms of trying to find solutions for other people is your way of showing empathy.
I've had feedback in the past. I'm not saying recent, but in the past where people have given me constructive criticism where I needed to apply a little bit more empathy in the conversation. And look,
In
I,
work
it
sense
it's
or in personal?
I would say both. And I'm a person that I always take, constructive criticism seriously because that's feedback, man. That's all about self development. You've got to learn and apply that in some way. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah. In terms of personal sense, do you feel like you've grown there too, or?
To be honest, I'm not too sure because I feel like for me in the last 12 months, I've been very focused on my career.
Mm.
So I haven't honestly have not had the opportunity to really spend time with people that I treasure.
Hello.
But besides, like, I'm talking about friendships, woman.
I don't care. No, I think from memory, one of the things that we discussed about empathy was you showing empathy towards me because you're such a person. It's like, okay, next thing, let's move on. And sometimes you don't show some of that. And it's just like, say, for example, something happened to me, which is great. And then you're like, oh, yeah, it does kind of suck. And then that's kind of like the end of the conversation.
So I think there are moments depending on what has obviously gone wrong or whatever the
Yeah.
scenario
Like,
is.
obviously, it was just like I just tripped over the chair. Like, yeah, whatever.
It's like such shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it's half half. I think if it's a situation where it's serious, then it's okay. Let me hear it out. Like talk to me about it, because I would rather you talk to me than you sort of bottle it up. You know what I mean? But yeah, when it comes to like the smaller stuff, I guess no,
Still the same.
it's still the same. Because I mean, like, I wouldn't expect. I guess for me, yeah, I don't probably see it as a big thing.
I don't think it's because you don't see it as a big thing. You're just like, yeah, that's the problem, and then you're like, yep, let's keep moving, kind of thing. That's your train of thought, which is mostly mine too. But yeah, I can sometimes see that side where it's not I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't want to make you sound like you don't care. You do care, but it's just the way that you express it sometimes. It's just you don't stay in that conversation longer when I'm trying to share some sort of complication, and then you're like, yeah, that kind of sucks. And you're still listening, like you're a good listener. It's just that no words come out from you to kind of, what do you say, like console me.
Pat you on the head,
Yeah.
pat your shoulders.
Yeah. So I feel like on a personal level, yeah, you are still working on it, but it's to me in a broader perspective, it has never been bad. I feel like you have your own style of empathy, but there are some things that are still work in progress in
Yeah.
my point of view as a partner.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then for me, speaking my mind confidently but still respectfully,
Yeah, how do you think you're going with that?
I feel like this actually happened quite recently at work as well. Work is probably the best place to see if you've grown in this place, and I've recently done this where I had to. Yeah, this is really weird for me. So the scenario was that there are a few jobs where it wasn't really what I was hoping for, and it's a place where I still want to work on like the connections and the communication with the people that I work with. I want to give them the chance to hear me out and be like, oh, why don't I agree with what I'm doing here, or how to make the workplace better and things like that. Because in the past, what I've learned the most is I would just leave a place and then not, and then until I leave it, people don't really know what I'm thinking. They're like, oh, I wouldn't have even thought that you were thinking that, or like, I didn't know that this was happening. So it kind of taught me to be like, I need to be a bit more open in terms of how I'm feeling. So if I'm unhappy with a job, a role, a task, most of the time I just do it. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll just do it. It's fine. Whereas like, I realize that I can actually open up and be like, I don't agree with this, or I don't like this, or I feel like this is not part of what I've signed up for. And I really have made it a big part of me to actually voice these things in this new job that I have, like, well, this job that I have now. And I definitely do feel like it's working. And I learned a lot of this through a lot of coworkers that I've seen. And in this role, I've learned a lot from people.
You said that I feel like in the past, you never really spoke up about just kicking back in general. But from my perspective, I feel like it definitely did have an impact in the past in terms of making you realize that you've got to stomp your foot down to basically say, look,
Be an elephant.
yeah, you got to be an elephant and go, "Kapoof," and then be like,
No, like
nah.
it's I have spoken up, but I feel like either I left it too late or I'm not confidently saying much about it. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
I would be like, oh, I'm too busy, or like, oh yeah, that's fine, I'll just do it. Or it's like it's just very small replies.
Yeah,
Whereas this time I've actually actively gone to people, like the right people as well, and be like,
yeah,
hey, this is what I signed up for, this is what I want to do, and is there some way that I can work this in or align this or something like that? Whereas in the past, I feel like if I said something, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get fired, or like they're not gonna like me anymore, or I just look like I'm not a good staff member. And
yeah.
I had those kind of thoughts in the past.
Yeah. Okay, at the start, sure, you're sniffing it out because you're new to this job, you're new to the role, new to this place. Yeah, you might have some leniency or feel like you're a little guilty there. But as you understand the business and the position, that's when you've got to stomp the yard and say, look, mate,
Stop me.
you gotta stop it and be like, mate, this is no deal, mate. No deal.
Yeah, and the really great thing that came out of doing this, and I think for any listeners or any of you guys out there who may be in a similar position where you feel like you're not 100% happy in your workplace and you feel like it could be better, but you don't want to leave or just jump to a new role just because something's not going right or you're not 100% happy. The thing that I've learned the most is actually just voicing it. And it's really just like a relationship or a friendship. If you're not happy with something, just because you say one thing, they're not going to be like, whoa, let's break up, or like, whoa, I don't want to be a friend anymore. And it's just bringing it up. This is how I'm feeling. Is there something that we can do together to work and realign this or make this into a better alignment to what you're hoping for?
Yeah, that is a fair point to bring up because even I have been through that too recently. And then, your manager or whatever is not going to know how you feel by just looking at you. And it's important to communicate that and let them know, hey, you're feeling a certain way. If things aren't working, if people are bullying you, or if processes aren't working correctly, you've got to really show and demonstrate, hey, this is not right, and say why.
Yeah, and another thing from that I've learned is it's okay that it's more than one or two times. It's sometimes maybe the first time you might not be successful and you may not have reached the right person. And then you go and try and talk to someone else who might be more aligned or might be able to help you. You try it again. Like it's just knowing that the first or second time may not work or you might not have gone through or they may have been busy or haven't seen like the seriousness of what you're trying to say. So it's like don't be disheartened because the first time didn't work and then you're like, no, I don't like this place, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing that I've really learned out of this is I know that you've said it a lot, is just about being honest and then how much people just respect you more. And definitely out of this conversation that I've had with a few people that I've talked to about this whole work situation, they have come back to me and it's like, wow, I really respect how well you just communicated that and just being so honest about the situation. And from that, like everyone understands each other and they respect you for being so honest and it
Yeah.
creates a better workspace.
But how does that make you feel to hear that?
It just feels good because it gives me the acknowledgement that being honest and being open really does work.
Yeah, told you.
What do you mean
Yeah, told you,
told
fool.
you?
See, I've always been someone that's very much like just tell it as it is, obviously within respect,
Yeah.
right? And you come in good faith.
Like if you think about you as yourself doing your job, you're quite busy
Yeah, of
and you
course.
don't think about maybe the person over there in the other department. You don't know what they're
Yeah, of
doing.
course. Yeah.
So when you bring it up, you're being open and honest and being vulnerable as well. That's the biggest part. I think in the past, it's not that I wasn't open and honest. I was open and honest, but I didn't talk about the vulnerable part of me where I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I don't really agree with that. Can I do this or let's do this? Whereas this time I was like, I am unhappy. I would like to do this. And this is what I was hoping for, but we're not getting there.
Yeah.
And I'm actually truly just being vulnerable where I'm talking about what I'm really not liking.
Yeah, yeah.
And that really honed in on the respect of just being so open and honest.
Yeah. Which is good. And I think sometimes the size of the business can impede your honesty as well. Like if I were to, like for me, for an example, I can't grab someone by the kahunas and be like, mate, this process is fucked. Like you need to do it this way.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's harder when obviously the business is bigger and bigger because it means there's more people, there's more processes, there's more of a domino effect if one thing changes. So
Mm.
with, I guess with your business, it's more feasible for you to actually grab someone by the kahunas and be like, dude, you got to do it like this or change
Well, I
things.
don't know
Yeah.
about feasible, but it's just, yeah, I think this can go into a whole nother conversation. And if you
Yeah.
guys are interested in us honing in on this, let us know in the DMs. But yeah, I feel like this could be a whole nother conversation, how to be more honest, how to be more open and speaking up in your workplace as well, so that you can confidently talk about what you do and don't like in
Yeah.
the workplace. But yeah, let's go back into what your third one was. Was it proactiveness?
Yeah. Proactiveness. So this one is a kind of a wishy washy one, I feel. Um, So I think my last example that I used 12 months ago was to be more proactive with the fucking lawn.
Yeah, I can definitely say the lawn is
Yeah,
still
don't know.
dead,
Still
and
not.
we probably don't have lawn grubs now. I don't know. I don't
I
feel
think
like,
we'll probably get them back soon.
well, I don't know. It's spring right now, and
It's getting
during
hot.
winter,
So
lawn grubs don't really come out, but we'll see in a few months' time.
I think the only thing I would say when it comes to the yard factor is we finally pulled out the dirty ass bush next to our driveway, which is a plus. Now our house doesn't look as ratty as it did prior.
But do you think that was purely out of proactiveness
Well,
or
yeah, actually, wait.
spontaneous?
It is proactive because we bombed it and
You bombed it, not me.
kaput it. Now we can, pull it out. So that's a good thing. And yeah, I think proactiveness probably not. And I think it's hard to be a little proactive because, like I said, last 12 months I've really been focusing on my career. So I pretty much do 6 days a week at the moment. So it's a bit hard to balance that and then balance, I guess, our extracurricular stuff outside of work. So yeah, it's been
I feel like you can still be proactive though in terms of managing how to organize your time between your work and all the other stuff that you do. That's a form of
yeah.
proactiveness. So if you just look a week ahead, so some people maybe on Monday they'll start to look at all the things that may happen or may come up, or that it's part of a routine. And they start to write it down, be like, okay, I'll allocate this much time for this, I'll allocate this time for that. Like these are like the things that I'll definitely work on. And then they leave some time for, work or other things that they'll
Yeah,
do.
it's a little bit different for my space because it falls in, it just drops in. So I can't essentially, like if I want business, I need to keep it open. Unfortunately, with the way my work does. So yeah, it's a work it's a teething thing that I'm working on. And I think proactiveness in terms of like my friendships, man, definitely have not really taken that into account because I think maybe a few episodes back we had a gathering. Can't remember when, like maybe a few,
Games night?
yeah, like a games night ages ago with some friends, and everyone basically gave us feedback saying it was great and we need to do that more. So basically, we just get everyone over, play some board games, eat some food, fucking play some Switchy, and yeah, I think a proactiveness from a social aspect, I think me specifically, I haven't really taken that on board.
I actually feel the other way. Like, I know that the last few months we've been busy. Personally, both of us individually have had a lot of things on. But comparing to the other years, we've actually had more games night this year than other years. And we've seen your friends a lot more than what we have.
Yeah, but I think, the last few years are a little bit different because pandemic and
I know. I have a different view. I feel like we
yeah.
have been more proactive and we're the ones that are organizing this too. So I feel like that's part of that proactiveness
Yeah, fair.
channel. And we even bought a whiteboard. So this whiteboard
Mm,
is for just noting down things that we need, things we need to get done in the house collaboratively so that we can
yeah,
see it. And then that's sort of like, it's not planned as in on Thursday we will do this. It's just
to
we need
remind
to
us.
vacuum, we need to, do the weed or something like that. And we can see that this is on our list. So it's kind of helping. And there are some stuff on that list that we have not worked on. So
Well, yeah, it's just kind of our reminder. Like, it's not, I think we need to hold ourselves accountable
yeah.
probably by looking
So
at
that's
a
our
day.
form of trying to
Yeah.
be proactive.
Yeah.
And lastly, also sort of a fail one for me is being better at multitasking and not jumping on every single thing that I want to do. But we had a conversation with a guest, Jen. So she reads human design, and that's like a blueprint for who you are as a person based on like the time that you're born and the place and all that kind of stuff. And the human design reading shows that I'm a person who actually likes to do a whole lot of different things at the same time. So I'm a person who has many tabs open in my mind, and I'm just not a person who sticks to one thing. And that was very accurate. And in terms of have I worked on this weakness, I think partially yes, but partially no. Like, why I say yes is because this year I've been so busy to the point that I started to prioritize myself, right? So some things had to give. For example, social lifestyle, I had to kind of put that in the back burner and just really work on myself. So I'm doing a lot of things in terms of mentoring, going to networking that's very specific to my um creative industry, and working on just a fair few things that I do want to work on, and I'm just sticking to that. So I haven't really started anything new in a sense. So I feel like in terms of that, trying to stick to the few things that I have, I'm still working on many different multiple tasks, but I've stuck to the ones that I've been working on. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not like being like, okay, now I want to go
Try
play
something else.
basketball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go swimming.
You're
Like go,
just honing on the things that you're currently still doing,
yeah.
trying to
So
sharpen the tools in the shed, mate.
yeah, and really have been working on myself. So I was also self-reflecting on what I've done this year, because at first my first thought was like, I've done nothing this year. And I was like, why am I thinking that I've done nothing this year? So I was thinking, what have I done? What I've been doing? And I realized that this whole year I've actually subconsciously started to really work on myself. So like the signing up for mentorship, that was something.
Questionable still.
Yeah. That's a different
That's a
story.
different
But
story.
anyways, so I've done that, like still doing that, and then also really just honing in on like doing this podcast, just making sure that we're still being consistent, because it's something that we both really enjoy, and it is really out of just our own time and
Yeah.
spare time, and yeah, just sticking to it because we really do enjoy it, and just it's just great seeing the feedback from people that come back and saying like it has helped us, and even the what's it called, indirect effects of people saying I've reconnected with a friend because I heard the podcast, and it's like it's not about the episode itself, but they reconnected with an old friend that they haven't talked to 10 years ago. So it's just like focusing on these things that I realize it's actually really just working on myself this year, and I found that it has been really important, and it's something that I haven't done in a long time.
That's
So,
good.
yeah, like in terms of this goal itself, the weakness that we had, yeah, still 50-50.
Mm.
I'm still doing a lot of stuff, but trying to stick to the many pillars of lots of stuff.
Yeah. But how does that make you feel when you reflect initially to see what are the things that you've actually been working on? Because you said that you're always a person that has multiple tabs open and you thought this year you didn't do much. So when you reflected and you realize, oh shit, I've done a fair bit, how does that
Mm,
make you feel?
I think definitely I'm proud of myself in terms of working on myself, because I'm not a person who really focuses on myself a lot. I can self reflect, I can self understand, like, what am I doing? How can I do better? And a lot of times it gets to the point where it's really bad, where I'm like, okay, I really need to work on this. That's when I start. And to do that unintentionally and to step back and focus on myself, I think in a broad perspective, I am definitely proud of doing that. And I definitely feel like I do enjoy this journey that I'm doing, working on myself. And yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Nicer, nicer, nicer. In saying that, do you think that from here, are you going to continue to work on these
Yeah, of
three
course.
weaknesses, or do you have any new weaknesses that you'd like to add
I
or
think
work on?
I will forever continue working on the existing shit that I've got on my list. But I think the three new ones I can come up with is, well, one is more of a time management. I think time management is one of my weaknesses. And it's not the fact that time management in a way that I'm not auto regulating the time management. I think I'm fine with auto regulating the time management. It's really just time management in a fact of, because I have two calendars. I have work and I have a personal one. And sometimes I work off the work one and
Mm.
sometimes I work off my personal one. And it's really, really difficult to merge the two without privacy issues.
There a way you can maybe open them side by side, or if it's a really important event, block that out onto your work one as
Yeah,
well?
sometimes it's a bit hard for me because I need to just come to a headspace of just saying this is my time. I feel bad when I lock out those times, and sometimes it's very difficult to have the conversations with someone who is questioning why you're blocking out those times
Mm.
from a work perspective. And I think, yeah, it's just a boundary thing, which is kind of annoying, but at the same time a reality. So I say, yeah, time management is one of my focus is there. What about you?
I don't feel like that's time management. I think it's just understanding what's a non-negotiable, like realigning your non-negotiables so that you have your own personal time as well, like giving
Mm,
yourself the time back in your own day.
yeah.
I have one that was, yeah. So this one's a little bit back on opening too many tabs and not multitasking, but and also progressing in my career. I think in the last like 5 years, I was so focused on just growing, getting up there, and now I've kind of got to this place where I've been stagnant, which I've talked about a few times on the episodes. And a lot of the times, my thought is more like, why can't I get up there? Why can't I keep moving? Why can't I get higher up or more senior or whatever that is? And I think now I've changed that mindset. It's more like, as long as I'm working on something that's still in the career, still in the industry, and I'm still learning, I'm still creating, that's me still moving forward, because in the end, I'm not stopping. I haven't stopped. I haven't quit. I'm still doing something in the field. So I think I'm just gonna focus on that just to keep moving essentially.
True. Yeah, I feel like I am somewhat I can relate to that personally from my perspective as
Why
well.
are you laughing at me?
I'll explain to you after, but
Tell me. He's laughing at me. Is there
no,
something wrong with
I
my
can see a
hair?
grey hair. Anyway,
Ew.
just getting old, mate.
It's just the
Anyway,
stresses that we have to go through.
yeah, I think I can relate too. I've kind of gotten to the point where you know how you work in the industry, you're continuously pushing yourself to get better and better. But I'm at a point where it's like, well, why am I working so hard to not really, I won't say not really progress, but it's just, why do I need to work so hard to get paid X when I need to dial myself back and get the time back? I feel like the harder that you work, you get into those roles where you have more responsibilities and the expectations are higher, which is fine. But life is so damn short, man. Like, I just feel like, is it really worth it to me sometimes?
That's always what I've thought about, but I just wanted to sort of clarify what I was saying in terms of, as long as I keep on moving, that's like the thing. So the thing that I want to work on, even though it's related to career, the weakness that I wanted to work on isn't about getting higher, continue to grow. Like that's great, but the core thing that I wanted to work on, core weakness I want to work on, is just having that mindset and remembering that as long as I'm moving along, as long as I'm still kind of pushing along, still moving, that's me doing something, even if it's not in the exact position of where I want to be. Like if I had an idea of I need to be a UX specialist or something and I'm not in that role, it doesn't matter, because everything that I'm working on right now is still part of that journey of me growing to where I want to be. That's the mindset I wanted to work on.
Mm,
Because
nice.
the weakness is just like, oh, I'm stagnant. I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck. But now it's the mindset of I'm still working. I'm still doing things. I'm still in the industry. And
It's just taking
I'll,
time. It's all
yeah,
good.
just chilling. I'm
Just
cruising.
yeah, you're just fucking chill banging. You're chewing bubblegum, mate. Hey?
Yeah. So that's just, I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, in terms of the work thing that you're talking about, I do agree with that. And that's how I've always thought. Like, I know a lot of people chase higher salaries and higher wages, which is really great. But I've never been the big believer of earning, say, 1 mil a year, but you've got no time for yourself, you have no time for your family, friends, and you don't have health. Like, you're not even working out, you're just waking up to work, you go home, you sleep, and you start your day again. That's just never been something I've believed in.
Yeah, which segues onto my next problem, which I want to work on, which this last 12 months I've been neglecting my health. Well, just health and I guess my balanced diet of eating and shit like that. And I think, like I said, the last 12 months I've been really focused on my career. So just trying to work more hours, more days essentially to get the business. And I have definitely neglected a lot of my training in Muay Thai or just training at the gym. Sometimes when you're just focused on the job and the role and targets and things like that, numbers, it really fucks your head because that's all you think about. And yeah, like your career pays, bills, so it's important. You need to have that in your life, and I think I just need to get back the time that I allocated towards work, and I think that's just what I need to.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, it is kind of sad seeing that you're working so much. Like, for me, I've always been that person who works really long hours, just doing freelance or other things outside of it. But I personally know that I'm okay with that. But knowing that you're a person who really treasures your own personal time, or just having downtime, and seeing that you've kind of thrown all that out the window, and even going to Muay Thai by myself, it's not that I don't like going by myself or I'm not okay going by myself. It's just the knowledge or the thought of knowing that you're not going because you've chosen work and you have really just given your all to work, which is completely fine. Like, I know that it's like a season where you need to do that, or you just want to try and prove yourself and make, like, show your value in your workplace, which is completely fine. But it's just like knowing that it's you're putting all your health and all your strive for being fit, because you're really into fitness, you're really into gym, working out, and you're kind of pushing all that away, like everything away apart from work. It is kind of sad to see.
Yes, it is very, very sad. It's always on my mind every single day. So
So do you feel like you're going to try and get into that a lot more now?
yeah, it's trying to win back my own time and just setting the non-negotiables. And it's really just being honest to certain people who question that. And I think yeah, it's just gotta there's gotta be a balance between the two because it's not a you can't it's not a healthy thing to be in, to live in.
I don't know the exact saying, but the people say that you're just another person in that workplace, and if you're gone, they're just gonna replace you.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you, if you hinder your own health, your own happiness, your own mind, you are the only person who's responsible for that, and you have to work on that. Your boss, your manager, your CEO is not going to step in and help you with
Yeah,
that.
they wouldn't give a fuck about me. So you know what I mean. So that's a shame. That's a sad thing about the corporate environment that we live in. But hey, that's another story to live and talk about. But
Well, like, it's not about, like, I don't think every person is like a bad manager or a bad CEO, but it's just realistically only you have control over what your non-negotiables, and working on yourself and keeping your own mental health and your own physical health in check. Like, no one else
yeah,
is going to come in and be like, "Hey, you should go gym today," or like, "Hey, you should take a break right now."
yeah, I know. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate the fact that there's pressures and guilt tripping at times to make you feel like
Yeah,
you need
and that's
to
definitely not
just
healthy, but
yeah,
yeah, looking forward to see you working on yourself and improve on the health side and get some PBs.
yeah, that's it. So, what's your last one?
I think it's still going back into the networking. So I still like to keep that, just the networking and the talking to people, but it's not the networking in terms of going out there and talking to people and getting to know all the people around the world and things like that. But what I've noticed that I do is, say I have a good opportunity to keep a connection, so someone from work or someone that I cross paths with, or even people that I see at gym. And I keep to myself so much to the point it's like, oh, if I'm leaving or if I don't go to this place anymore, I that's it. I just leave. I'm not like, oh, let's catch up, or like, hey, where are you going? Or like putting, I guess it's showing my interest in that person so that they can also share a connection. I'm kind of like, I just keep to myself. It's like, oh yeah, that person's leaving. And it's not saying that I don't have empathy or anything. Like, I do get curious, like, oh, where are you off to? Or like, where are you moving to? But that's like the end of the conversation. Whereas, like, I've noticed a lot of people, this is where, again, this current workplace, I've learned a lot in terms of how people keep connections. So they're like, oh, they would try to keep in contact or like get in touch or reach out to them maybe a month after they're gone, seeing like how you're going, and just actually actively and with curiosity and
It's genuine. They're
yeah,
genuinely
genuinely
curious.
yeah, genuinely curious and just like trying to
Curious.
curious to maintain a connection and just want to get to know where they're at and things like that. Whereas for me, I'm just
You
like,
don't really do that, yeah.
yeah, and it's not because I don't care. It's just that I it could be linked back to something that I've spoken about is I don't want to waste people's time, and I feel bad that maybe I'm too boring or
No, I
that kind
think
of thing.
yeah, I think it's more you're thinking of the next steps of where you need to go. And I think because you got so many tabs open, you don't really think about that,
I
to be
just think I
honest.
keep in my own lane a lot. Like
Yeah, because
I'm
you're
just
focused on yourself. That's what
yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like focus on myself. It's like, yeah, literally, I'm in a car, I'm in my own lane. I don't look left or right. I don't look at what they're doing or like, what is this person doing or,
Mm,
that kind of thing, which is a great thing. But in the
can
back side of it, it can also be bad because
yeah.
from an outsider's point of view, they might think that I don't have interest in them, even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
I've talked to them throughout the whole entire time that I've worked with them at the job. But once they're gone, it's like, that's it.
Yeah. And I think it'll be a good learning curve for you to try and implement and see if that has any effect to you. Because I'm opposite to you, so I'm curious. I'm always aware of what's happening, and I'm always genuinely curious about how people go by their life. And yeah, that's how I get to know people. So I guess yeah, from me, I'm totally opposite to you in
Yeah,
that fact.
like a good example is like, say I've moved on to a new job. I am afraid to reach back out to an old colleague and be like, hey, like, where you
Yeah,
at? Where I've seen you've done that, and you're
yeah, I
like,
do that all the
hey, where
time.
you at? Or you just casually call them up or like, what are you guys
Yeah, I'd be
doing
like, where
now?
you at, fool? Where you at?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas for me, if I was to do that, I'm like, I'm too weird, or that is too weird, or that's like my thought process. And that's what I mean by trying to maintain connections. And yeah, like I feel like I've tried to do that a little, but it still stops after maybe like the one conversation.
Which is fine, and it happens. But you just, I don't know, like you just got to reach out sometimes to start the conversation.
Yeah, and I'm just talking
Yeah.
about people that I do talk to if I did work with them. It's not like someone that maybe I just saw one time at work and
Mm,
be like, hey, and then going to reach out. That's a bit weird. But it's like
yeah.
someone that I did actually have a connection with or slight connection at work and then I didn't really continue it.
Yeah.
Even at like Muay Thai or like at gym, you talk to someone, and I'm thinking back maybe the first 2 or 3 years at Muay Thai, I did keep to myself a lot too, and I didn't really make conversations there. Like I do know people, know of them, I've sparred them, and I still talk to them. Whereas this year, I think in this space, I have tried to talk to them a lot more, and it's been great because I've grown some connections from there and actually got to know each other a bit more outside of all.
Yeah, yeah.
You need
Just a
to
hey, hi,
yeah.
see you later,
No, like
bye.
a bit more than just like, "Oh, I've sparred you last week," or like,
Yeah,
"You're
it's
good
like
at it."
surface level stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how you apply that to yourself and to see if that actually changes your mindset later
Mm.
down the track. But anyway, I think this is a great reflection that we've had,
Wait, what about
and
yours? Your
I already
third
spoke
one?
about that. Oh, well, anyway.
And lucky last. Why are you laughing?
So I think I'll continue to build my network in my career as well as personal. I don't think I'll change. I think network is always a good thing to have. Just to know people, acquaintances. For me, yeah, definitely continue to hone in on that and build that relationship side of things.
That's gross. You're like burping into the mic. And with that, no, I think this has been a good conversation and definitely would be keen to check in on this again. I don't know if it's a 3 to 6 month
Yeah, I
check
don't
in,
know. Yeah,
maybe a yearly thing. We'll let you know in a few months' time.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us and listening. We use these podcast episodes as a form of our blogging or journey tracking, for me, anyways. And it's a good thing to help us self-reflect on our issues or things that we want to
Not
improve.
issues, weaknesses
Or
that
weaknesses.
can be turned into opportunities.
Exactly right.
The SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
If you have any weaknesses that you would like to work on yourself, we're actually keen to hear what that is and let us know how you're gonna work on those weaknesses.
Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Goodbye.
Peace.